Okay, if everyone could please be seated so we could begin the meeting. We'll have the call to order, and we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good afternoon. As many of you know, we continued and recessed the meeting that we had scheduled last Friday morning and rescheduled it to resume today. And the only agenda item we have is motion 25-2010, which is a motion to declare a special election to fill the vacancy in the office of Clerk of Judicial Records pursuant to Section 1-2.206C of the Home Rule Charter to appear on the ballot for the November 4, 2025 municipal general election. And we have identified as the speaker, Chief Solicitor Donald Frederickson. Do you wish to say anything before?
Thank you, Your Honor. Just before the board is the writ of election to place on the ballot for the November 4th special election to fill the vacancy created in the office of the Clerk of Judicial Records based upon the retirement of Mari Kelly it took effect on Tuesday on the 2nd, which was yesterday. So the office is vacant currently. I do believe that Judge Gibbons had issued an order appointing an interim director. So there is an interim director in there at this time. He did accept her resignation also in that order, I understand. So,
yes.
So both of those were accomplished. And pursuant to the Home Rule Charter and the county code, it should go on the ballot for the next municipal election.
Okay. Anything from either commissioner before we consider?
Procedurally, do we have to allow the public to have the ability to comment on this motion, or did we already do that at the last
Well, we
meeting?
did it at the last meeting because this is a continuation of that meeting. So,
Okay.
okay. I mean, it doesn't hurt to do it if you, but I mean,
I'm not it.
Yeah,
we
I
can do
know
it
the,
after. I
the
mean, there is
public will
public
be able to
comment
comment
after,
after, but I just
Yes.
wanted to make sure we're
'Cause
not
we
breaking
continued the last meeting to today, so we actually, had
Okay.
public comment earlier. So.
Yeah, I mean, we do have an opportunity for the public to address the board after the motion, but if anyone wishes to address the board on the motion itself, I would not be adverse to allowing them to speak unless either commissioner has an objection. Okay. Anyone wish to speak or be heard before we consider the motion? Yeah, the agenda item motion. Okay, and the record will reflect that no one has approached the podium. I would, before we consider it, just like to make a couple of comments, because two arguments that were raised last Friday when we were considering the special election to fill the county commissioner vacancy. Two issues that were raised that were interesting issues that had not been raised before. One was that under the Home Rule Charter, a special election could not be held under Section 1.2-206C unless and until an appointment was made by the judges of one of the three names submitted pursuant to 1.2-206B. Another issue that was raised was that the Board of Authority has the Board of Elections has no authority absent a vote or directive from the governing body to declare a special election. On the first issue about holding a special election under subsection C before there would be a temporary appointment under subsection or subparagraph B. After our meeting on Friday morning when I returned to the courthouse, I informed President Judge Gibbons of the vote that had been conducted here on Friday and our declaration of a special election, and he informed me that during the judge's meeting before motion court en banc on Friday at 9 a.m., so while I was here and they were in the courthouse, they had a meeting and decided to proceed forward with conducting the interviews of the three names that were submitted for consideration for the commissioner vacancy, and to also conduct interviews for the three names that actually were just submitted this morning to me by email from the court administrator, of the individuals being submitted pursuant to subparagraph B for consideration for the clerk judicial records vacancy, and to then, after conducting those interviews, make appointments, and that would be tomorrow, Thursday, September 4th. So I believe that the concern raised about holding a special election under subparagraph C before the position has been temporarily filled by judicial appointment under subparagraph B will now be moot, because we will make those appointments tomorrow, and the special election, as everyone knows, has been scheduled for November 4th, 2025. As to the other issue regarding the authority of the Board of Elections to declare a special election, and council was kind enough last week to pass up section 2642 of the election code, which sets forth the duties that the election board must perform. It uses the word shall, and shall exercise, and it lists a variety of different duties that the election board has and must exercise. And subparagraph O says, quote, to perform such other duties as may be prescribed by law, close quote. And I believe when we talk about prescribed by law, we're not saying prescribed by statute, we're not saying any particular law. And I would submit that the Home Rule Charter provision 206C, which calls for a special election, is such a law that would be prescribed. Also, a later section in the election code, which I thought provides support in its wording for an election board to declare a special election, is section 2645A1, which deals with the expenses of special elections. And it states that the county is liable for the expenses of holding special elections to be, quote, held on the day of any general, comma, municipal or primary election, comma, and on any special question which is required by law to be, comma, or which is, comma, at the discretion of the county board. And you should understand that under the election code, the county board is defined as the Board of Elections. But at the discretion of the county board, as hereinafter provided, printed on the regular ballot. So I believe an interpretation could be given there as to indicate that the election board has the discretion, not the duty, not the obligation, but the discretion to not only place a special question on the ballot, but also to have a special election declared. You may recall on Friday, one of the cases that I referenced in support of a special election being declared was the case out of Luzerne County in 2021, Luzerne County Council versus Luzerne County Board of Elections. And that was the case involving the appointment of the district attorney in 2021. He contended that he would serve through the end of the departing district attorney's term, which ended on December 31st, 2023. But the Board of Elections, not the county council, not the governing board, but the Board of Elections of Luzerne County declared a special election in November 2021, and the Commonwealth Court upheld that action. Not only did the Board of Elections not declare the special election pursuant to some directive or instruction from the governing body, which is the county council. It was the county council that sued them to stop the special election that the Board of Elections had declared. So I would have to think that if a Board of Elections did not have the authority to declare a special election, even if it was opposed by the governing body, that my colleagues on the Commonwealth Court are smart enough and familiar enough with education law to say, wait a minute, we don't even need to get to the merits of this argument dealing with the Luzerne County Home Rule Charter and state law and what may conflict with the county code and the like. Board of Elections doesn't have the authority to do that. And I even did a deeper dive when I thought, okay, obviously the judges didn't raise it, but did the lawyers raise it? Who were the lawyers? And the lawyer representing the district attorney, and anyone who practices election law would be familiar with him, is Matthew Haverstick of the Kleinbart firm. He represents the Republican caucus for the Pennsylvania State Senate. He represents Treasurer Stacey Garrity, and he also represented Elon Musk and his PAC in the 2024 election, one of the state's most prominent election authorities. And then I thought, well, who represented the county council? If the county council is challenging this, who was their lawyer? And wouldn't he be expected to argue, or she be expected to argue, that they didn't have the authority? And the lawyer who was representing the Luzerne County Council in that case is former Judge Tom Vanaski, who was a federal district court judge in the Middle District of Pennsylvania and also served on the Third Circuit Court of Appeals, the only Lackawanna County resident in the history of the Third Circuit Court of Appeals to ever be appointed to that bench. I've known him for a long time, one of the greatest legal minds that I have ever met or known. And I would have to think that if the Board of Elections didn't have the authority, Judge Vanaski would have raised that issue. Finally, who represented the Board of Elections? Former Judge Joseph Cosgrove, who served on the Luzerne County Court and also on the Commonwealth Court, which, by the way, has jurisdiction over election issues. I would have to think that if the Board of Elections did not have the authority to declare a special election, Judge Cosgrove would have advised them not to do so. And then finally, I'd like to reference a more recent case that's just within the past month and a half out of Allegheny County called Embrescia, E-M-B-R-E-S-C-I-A, versus Allegheny County Board of Elections, 2025 WL 2092800, for those of you who have Westlaw. It was the July 25, 2025 opinion of the Commonwealth Court. What happened in that case out of Allegheny County is that there was a Republican who had been elected to serve on the county council, and the county council is their version of our commissioners. It's their governing body. And he was elected to serve through January 2nd, 2028. He then resigned in January of 2025. Under the Allegheny County Home Rule Charter, the Allegheny County was required to adopt an administrative code to operate in conjunction with the Home Rule Charter. So the Home Rule Charter and the administrative code kind of operate as a unified source of their procedures. And the administrative code for Allegheny County, not unlike our own Home Rule Charter, provided for an interim appointment to be made and a vacancy to be filled at the next municipal election. Unlike our Home Rule Charter, in Allegheny County, that interim appointment was to be made by county council, not by the judges on the Court of Common Pleas in that particular council, or in that particular county. In that case, it was the Board of Elections, not the county council, that declared the special election. An individual who won the Republican primary but was objecting to the fact that an independent candidate was going to run in the general election, and I'm reading directly from the opinion, quote, filed a declaratory judgment action challenging the Board of Elections' interpretation of the Home Rule Charter and the Administrative Code, which would require him to run for election in November of 2025 rather than continue to hold the recently vacated at-large council seat until the 2027 municipal election, close quote. Oddly enough, one of the arguments that he raised, and it was a concern that Commissioner Sharmak had raised last Friday, was that this does not preserve minority representation. I'm one of the few Republican seats on the county council, and if this individual is able to run and win as a non-Republican, that Republican seat that had been elected earlier would not be preserved. And it's a long opinion. I'm not going to address all the issues that were raised in it. Some of them were constitutional, some of them were statutory, but the trial court held that the Republican objector, quote, failed to take into consideration the fundamental differences that naturally exist between traditional county governments and those operating under home rule charters, close quote. And the Commonwealth Court on Appeal stated that, quote, we agree with the trial court that there will naturally be less uniformity between the counties that choose to adopt home rule and those that remain under the original system, close quote. So the court held that the objector failed, and I'll quote from the opinion again, quote, failed to demonstrate that the interpretation of the trial court and the Board of Elections of the relevant home rule charter and administrative code language violates any constitutional or statutory limit. And as a final comment on that, I would note that last Friday, August 29th, 2025, the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania denied a petition for allowance of appeal in that Embresca case where the County Board of Elections had declared the special election and the County Board of Elections had been sued. And again, I would have to think that if the Board of Elections did not have the authority to declare a special election, the Commonwealth Court or the Supreme Court would have said so. So I'm even more confident than I was last Friday in the authority of the election board to declare a special election without first receiving a vote or a directive from the commissioners. So I don't know if either one of you wish to then comment before we consider the motion.
No, thank you.
The only thing, that you made a lot of great points. I am not a judge, nor am I an attorney. I don't necessarily, personally, don't necessarily agree with everything that we've been doing. As far as the commissioners' vote, I don't think that the commissioners should be involved in voting for something for the commissioners, so that was a separate issue. That went through. I guess it all goes by interpretation. Again, I'm not an attorney. I go by the advice of my attorney. And I have to go by past practices here in Lackawanna County and how things were done, in the past when this situation has come up. They followed the procedure put in place at the Home Rule Charter, and they made their decision. There was no issue. So
I would note, though, only because I've been someone making those appointments during the past 27 years as a judge, my recollection is every time we had a commissioner vacancy, it was the same year as the election and the term expiring.
Yeah,
So
well,
we didn't have to deal with the special election because we were appointing, for example, Representative Stayback to Commissioner O'Brien's vacancy, and it was already on the ballot for November, and we were doing it in the spring. But go ahead.
No, and these are all the things that I've been thinking about for the last however many days. Wait, I just lost my train of thought. So
Sorry.
Give me a no.
Yeah,
that's
I'm sorry
okay.
to do that.
I don't have a script in front of me, so I'm going off.
I unfortunately act like I'm still in court where I can just interrupt people, and I need to exercise better.
No, but the things I've been thinking about is putting these, like the cart before the horse here. That's why we postponed till today with Mari. And I'm not gathering my thoughts of what I wanted to say. You're going to have to give me a second to regroup here and think what I wanted to say. But I think what I was, for a special election, which to me this is not very special because we have days to put this all together and people get their names in and get their 863 signatures if they're going to switch back and forth and do whatever. And if we had time early on where we could have had a special election, where people could have ran in a primary and give the voters a choice to, during the primary, to select the best possible candidates in their mind to move forward to the November election, to me, that's a qualified special election. So, nothing would make me happier to see a Republican win this race if there, in fact, we have a special election. But last week, I didn't think it was appropriate. I didn't think that it was in our best interest to do that. And I think, in fairness to the voters, they're not really getting a choice on the Republican-Democrat side. They're getting who the committees appoint or who they put forth. So, if they had a chance in a primary to select a Republican in a primary race and a Democrat in a primary race and an independent and then would be in the November race, they would have time to campaign and get their voice across. But, I'm going to stick with my decision before. I'm going to abstain from this vote. I'm just, in my mind, I'm not 100% convinced, but it will be what it will be.
And I should say, they're valid points. As you may recall, when I first forwarded my memo to the commissioners on April 10th of 2025, I had just been appointed to the Board of Elections, and one of the first comments I had made was that it was now, by the time of my appointment, too late to schedule or conduct a primary election. But I thought after the primary, this is something that we needed to consider and needed to discuss. And with all due respect, I got more than 4 months of crickets. And nobody said anything until I wrote back again on August 20th, I believe it was, and said, listen, we have this deadline coming up on September 5th. If we don't do this now, or consider doing this now, I should say, the deadline will pass. I agree that in a perfect world, a primary would have been preferable. I don't know that unless both of you had agreed on the issue at the time, because I forget the exact date that Commissioner McGloin resigned or his resignation was effective, but you would have been operating as a two-person Board of Elections until I was appointed by President Judge Gibbons. But just to ensure compliance with state law, the Election Code does provide procedures pursuant to which a special election may be conducted without a primary. That was actually the issue that had been raised in the Luzerne County case that I mentioned earlier. So there are procedures by which they can, as you mentioned, each party can nominate a candidate, but at the same time, any individual who gets the necessary number of signatures may run as an independent candidate as well. But thanks for those points, Chris. I appreciate it. Good.
Thank you. I just make a brief statement similar to the one that I made on Friday and the one that I just made at 10 o'clock in Dunmore at the commissioners' meeting. In a democracy, I believe that power belongs to the people, not the party bosses, not to backroom deals, or a select few who think they know better than the voters of Lackawanna County. That's why I strongly support it, holding a special election in the vacancy of commissioner, and voted for that on Friday along with Judge Nealon, and I'll vote again this morning for the Clerk of Judicial Records. Every resident of Lackawanna County deserves the right to choose who represents them, rather than having that decision made by a handful of political insiders. And I have to be frank with everyone that it's a head-scratcher for me and a bit befuddling that both leaders in the Democratic and Republican parties are circling the wagons to block a special election. They'd rather protect their own power than trust the people that they claim to serve. That's not democracy. That is politics at its ugliest. We are elected to serve the public, not manipulate the system. Let's give the people of Lackawanna County what they're entitled to, which is very simply a real vote, a fair process, and a representative chosen by them, not chosen for them. And that's where I stand on the issue. Thank you.
Anything else then before we entertain it? Nothing? Okay. All right. Thank you, Commissioner Gahn, as well. On motion 25-2010, which reads, quote, "Motion to declare a special election to fill the vacancy in the office of Clerk of Judicial Records pursuant to Section 1-2.206C of the Lackawanna Home Rule Charter to appear on the ballot for the November 4, 2025 municipal general election," close quote. Do we have a motion to pass that motion as read?
I will make that motion. So moved.
Okay, and I'll second your motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I respectfully abstain.
Okay. And Commissioner Shermack has respectfully abstained. So that would, motion 25-2010 would pass by a vote of 2-0-1. I want to make sure I represent that correctly. Next on the agenda for today is the opportunity for the public to address the board on matters that are not necessarily limited to the motion that we considered today. Anyone who wishes to address, they can approach the podium.
Mike Janetta from Scott Township. We're very fortunate to have Judge Nealon on the election board at this particular time. With his expertise, knowledge on election law, you couldn't ask for anyone better to be on the board.
Do you have a case before me?
No, I don't, Judge. But I fully support the board's decision to have a special election. People are tired of all these lawsuits and the appeals, and there's another one filed by the Democratic Party to stop the special election and deny the people the right to vote and decide who the commissioner is going to be for the next 2 years. And the people, the taxpayers of Lackawanna County, should have the ultimate say on who that commissioner is going to be. This is a long time before this term is expired. It's over 2 years. As Judge Nealon correctly pointed out, in the past, it's usually been a year when somebody resigned and the Common Pleas Court appointed somebody, so a special election never really came into play. But there's a reason why that section is in the Home Rule Charter, and this is a unique opportunity for the public to be given the chance to actually vote on who the commissioner will be, and you don't just have an appointment in a very closed-door process. So I commend the board in pushing for a special election. The taxpayers of Lackawanna County have a right to decide who that replacement commissioner is, and I'd just like to thank you for approving the special election.
Thank you. Attorney Janetta, I would note for the record that's one of the rare occasions where a lawyer has not used all of his allotted time in the. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm shorter than my time. Good afternoon, everyone. Board of Elections, Commissioner Gahan, Commissioner Chermak, and Judge Nealon. Thank you for the opportunity to address you this afternoon. Before I get into that message, to the point of a special election, I'm sorry. My name is Ashley DeFleece. I'm from Clarks Green Borough. I actually serve on our borough council currently, and we just had an issue where one of our council women resigned because she moved out of the borough, and we thought that we would also have to appoint someone for the remainder of the term, but as it stood, there were more than 60 days prior to the general election. So we are in a similar position where we have to, as well, have a special election to fill the remainder of that term. So just to also put this into perspective, this is not just a county issue. This also happens within our boroughs. So just point of reference there as well. But additionally, I rise today with a simple message that the residents of Lackawanna County deserve to vote for the individual who will represent them. There are some in this county who would feel as though they own this seat, that it is theirs to control. But we have a message for them that they don't own it. We do. Commissioner Gahan doesn't own his seat, and neither does Commissioner Chermak. They are custodians. I should say you are custodians of that seat in service of the over 200,000 residents of this county. In 2025, we no longer accept Tammany Hall-style politics, and that's exactly what we have here. We should be focused on the budget. We still have 2 union contracts that still are in negotiation, and we need to finish the reassessment process as well. we should not be wasting time on what I believe is a no-brainer. Furthermore, if we look to Allegheny County, as Judge Nealon pointed out, they're in a similar position, and the Court of Common Pleas, the Commonwealth Court, and the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania all agreed that the residents deserve the opportunity to vote on their representatives. So again, this is pretty straightforward. We see how the executive branch is currently being conducted, and if we expect to hold the president to a standard of transparency, then that has to start here at home. And if we don't, it signals that we accept these kinds of backdoor clandestine deals. Having a special election proves that we expect honest, open, and free elections. And that is what we ask here today, and I thank you for allowing us to have that opportunity and voting yes to that, not only for the commissioner's race, but also for the clerk of Common Pleas. I thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Tim?
Good afternoon. My name is Brenda Sacco. No, that's not right. Actually, I don't even know who Brenda Sacco is, and that's kind of the point that we're here to fight against, talk about. She might actually be our next commissioner, but I have no idea who she is, and most people in this room wouldn't know if she walked up here or not. My name's Renee Pilch. I grew up here in Lackawanna County. I'm a Valley View graduate. You know, I was gathering signatures at La Festa Monday, and I was there for 6 hours. And there's another time in my life that I gathered signatures, and it was when I was a Valley View student in 8th grade. I gathered these signatures because I wanted to fight and tell the school board why I hated the idea of having to wear school uniforms. And just so happens that this meeting was the same school board meeting that it was my father's last one. He was retiring as a school principal in the middle school. My mom was being hired as curriculum grant writer. But that was the meeting I chose to go and tell the school board what I thought of their decision to have school uniforms. After that, I spoke that day. The school board members came up to me after. They said, "You did such a great job." I said, "No, you still voted against me. And it turns out you decided this behind closed doors. You didn't even give me a voice." That's what you guys want to do here in terms of the back party politics that want to take this voice away from the people instead of giving it to us. And I want to just address the hollow argument made by Commissioner Chermak. You mentioned that we're in a rush. Well, whose fault is that? We're in a rush because we could have decided this 4 months ago. And the decision that you guys wanted to have in your own hands turned out to be not a great one, because now we're rushed trying to get a primary. So if the Republicans in your party are, annoyed with the fact that they don't have a choice in their primary, they can turn to you and maybe challenge you in the re-election next year. For right now, I just think you guys should let the people decide, as you've already decided here, but further fights are going to be coming forward from both my party and the other party. And I just think you guys need to hold your ground, stiffen your spine, and continue to do the right thing. Thank you.
I have to ask, are you the daughter of Lou Pilch?
Yes, I am. I'm the
Okay.
caboose.
Lou Pilch, as Mr. Kelly would know as he's about to approach the microphone, was the first wrestling coach at Scranton Prep and my wrestling coach, and was an incredible wrestling coach. I think in the first 6 of the 7 years the program was in existence, they won the championship. Wonderful guy. We just had an event in honor of him, I believe, 2 summers ago. It was the 50th year of the program. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Go ahead.
Unfortunately, Judge, you're telling everybody how old we are.
Yeah, you're older than I am, for the record.
Only by a year.
Okay.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. I rise to applaud the decision by the majority of the Board of Elections. A few months ago, I sat over in the courthouse, in courtroom number 3, and I watched the hearing conducted by Judges Girallo, Mazzoni, and Minora. I saw something that we rarely see in today's political world. I saw members of the Democratic Party, the hierarchy, and of the hierarchy of the Republican Party sitting together in agreement. Unfortunately, they were agreeing on stifling democracy, not promoting democracy. That's what I would have preferred to see. This process that has gone on to select a new commissioner since last spring has been opaque. There's no transparency whatsoever. I'm one of the dwindling numbers of people in Lackawanna County who still actually gets the print version of the Times Tribune. I read an article in the Times Tribune this morning that said there are 145,000 voters in Lackawanna County.
Actually, just over 146,000. Correct me if I'm wrong, Beth.
Yeah, I don't have the exact number.
Yeah.
But it's close to 140.
There. The paper said this morning 145, and if you read
I think
the
that's what I
Times,
said,
it
and they
must
were,
be true.
they were just quoting me.
In any event, your decision today puts this decision back where it should be, and that's with the voters of Lackawanna County, those 146,000 plus people who will decide this election. That's where the decision should be made. That's who should make the decision, not a closed-door cabal of politicians who are practicing out of the 1950s playbook for the Democratic Party. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
I guess I say my name is Norma Jeffries, and I'm a citizen of Scranton. And I'm here today as just a regular old citizen of Scranton who has followed all the different publications that have been in the paper, the back and forth and yes and no as to filling the vacant seat. It got a little bit confusing at time as to why do we have to go through this long drawn-out process of this. For those three that we did elect for the seats in November, we put our future in your hands. We put our, the assessment was a big issue at the hands. The taxes and everything were in your three hands. So now that there is a vacant position, I think it's good that we're going to have the opportunity to elect that person to fill the seat. That person that would have been along with Bill and along with Chris on the ballots, and maybe we would have selected that person. It was very refreshing to me when I heard that there were independents that were going to be putting out petitions, because I was not familiar with any of the three names that were suggested for the to be assigned to the position. And I feel that I'm a pretty knowledgeable person in Scranton. I try to keep up with the policies and the politics and what's going on, but I was not familiar with those three names. So I was thrilled when I heard that there was going to be an election for the vacant seat. That even gave me the opportunity from Friday to today. I could have been out there getting my petition signed and getting some minority faces up there on the board. But it was a little fast for me to get my attention in. But in any case, you know, I'm glad to see there's going to be election, and I'm speaking for those people that are there. I'm a retired person, and for us retirees, we will have an opportunity to have our say. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Good afternoon, and thank you for permitting me to speak today. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Michael Cappellini. I'm a proud and lifelong resident of Jessup, a graduate of the Valley View High School, and of the Pennsylvania State University. The "the" in that is very important. I'm currently the national brand ambassador for Toscano, an Italian-based company, a father to my beautiful son with another on the way, a husband to an amazing mom who is also a principal in the Valley View School District, and an active member in our community. I've always had an interest in public service, having graduated with a political science degree, and hoped someday to answer, sorry, of course somebody's calling me, to answer the higher call of being a public servant. I'm here today to explain why my timeline for seeking public office changed so drastically. A few months ago, news broke in the Valley community and up in the North Pocono area that there are plans to develop multiple data centers within yards of my neighbors' and friends' homes, as well as the North Pocono area, with little to no understanding of the social, economic, or environmental impact on the surrounding communities. For that very reason, and many more, I stand before you today. When the decision was made last week by this board to schedule a special election for the vacant seat of County Commissioner on November 4th, I gathered my family, my closest friends, and had a discussion to see if I should run for the seat. When I did not receive the Democratic nomination after my formal request to the Democratic Committee, I felt a strong desire to run as an independent. I knew it would be an uphill battle, but I decided to put feelers out, even after the realization that I needed over 850 signatures to gain standing as a valid candidate. I'm proud to say to you that as of today, and after a very short 72-hour window, thanks to the strong will of this incredible county and its residents, I have in excess of 990 signatures, or single voices from throughout this county that want a special election in November to pick their next county commissioner. Voices that need to be heard. Shortly after the conclusion of the meeting, I'll be filing these petitions as an independent candidate for this upcoming special election. I humbly and personally want to thank each and every one of you here today. You are all true and living proof that our democratic institution still stands for listening to the people's desires in the form of the constitutional right to a free and fair election, which will take place in November. Thank you.
Okay. Perfect timing. Yeah. Okay. All right. Anyone else who wishes to address the board on any items? Okay, and the record will, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Hi, my name's Rick Little. I'm from Scranton. I'm running for mayor of Scranton as an independent. There's so much talk about democracy, and I was really glad to hear the last speaker talk because I'm reading it in the paper, and it just seemed you have to have 863 signatures to run as an independent, certified by September 15th. That it's almost an impossibility. Because the fact of the matter is, it's been a Democrat-Republican thing for a very long time. Around here, it's a closed primary state. And the thing that bothers me most is that when judges run, they run as Republican and Democrat. And that, I think that's confusing. And the whole thing about democracy and it seems like everything is ratcheted down to a judicial hearing, and I see a very judiciary-based power move in the whole state of Pennsylvania. I mean, there's like, 56, 58 counties. There's 8 counties that have home rule charter. I've been studying Dillon, which was a Clinton versus the railroad hearing in Iowa, which is the other side of having a home rule charter. I don't think the home rule charter is beneficial to democracy. It started here in the county in 1977. And the Home Rule Charter of Scranton, the county seat, is 76. But the first one to take advantage of the Home Rule Charter was Philadelphia. That's where they've combined the governments of the county and the city of Philadelphia. There's a lot of mischief in my mind, and I think most of the mischief has to do with notice. You know, the due process and the Constitution of giving notice. Notice in the newspapers, that's almost gone. We have one newspaper. I just came from Dunmore. I didn't know the meeting was changed. But I hope we get more of democracy here. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else who wishes to address the board? Okay. Next on the agenda item, we have members' other business. Any other business you wish to discuss, either Commissioner Shermack or Kristen?
No, thank you.
I wish we had present here today. I understand why she's not here because it's her first day off. But as someone who's worked closely with Maury Kelly and her office, and her solicitor, particularly during the past 2 years as we undertook, as some of the lawyers know, an initiative to try to make our civil action inventory, or I should say the age of the pending inventory, as prompt and as efficient as we could, and we were able to do so. Her office, and Mari in particular, were very helpful and very instrumental in us achieving that. And I'm glad she is enjoying her first day of retirement, and thank her for her many years of service on behalf of Lackawanna County. Other than that, I guess we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
There's something you agree on, right?
That's right.
That's it, okay. We're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.